Hi everyone, this is Dr. K. Amoda, Associate Professor, Department of Physics. In this video, I am going to discuss about two important topics. Topic 1, twisting couple of a cylinder, and based on this, topic 2, I am going to discuss about torsion pendulum, its theory and experiment. Outline of this video includes basic definitions like moment of force, couple, torque, torsional stress and deformation. Next is twisting couple of a cylinder, its derivation, torsional pendulum, theory and experiment, and useful links. Now let us discuss about the twisting couple of a cylinder and calculate the couple per unit twist of a cylinder. Before we go into detail about the twisting couple of a cylinder, let us discuss the basic definitions first. To begin with, first is the moment of force. Okay, what is meant by moment of force? The moment at which you are going to calculate the force is defined as a measure of the tendency to cause a body to rotate, okay, about an axis, okay, and then it is defined as the magnitude of the moment of force about a point is defined as the product of the magnitude of the force and the perpendicular distance from the point to the line of action of the force. Okay, now let us discuss with this diagram. Now this is an object. Okay, you are applying the force. Okay, now if I want to calculate the moment of force at this axis of rotation O, okay, so from the action of the force, okay, from the line of action of the force, okay, D is a perpendicular distance. Then if I want to calculate the moment of force at O, means it is nothing but M is equal to force into perpendicular distance. So I'll write here, it is a force, okay. Here the perpendicular distance from the point at which you are asked to calculate the moment to the point at which the force is applied is D. Okay, so I will write here the moment of force is equal to force into perpendicular distance. Okay, and this causes the moment of forces will cause the rotating effect onto the object. So you can take this tap as a water tap as an example. When you apply the force, okay, it start rotating, and the moment of force here is nothing but the distance between the two equal and opposite forces is going to be D. So moment of force in this case is equal to force into perpendicular distance is going to be D here. So it is the force into perpendicular distance. Now we are clear with the moment of force before. Okay, now we are going to move on to the next step, which is a couple. What is couple? It is the a special case of moment, I should say, which is called as a couple. What is a couple? A pair of equal and opposite forces acting on a body, okay, in such a way that the lines of action of the two forces are not in a straight line. Okay, it will not produce any translation, but it is producing only the rotation. Okay, now how will you define the couple? The magnitude of the couple is defined as force into the distance between the two equal and opposite forces. It is independent of the reference location. Okay, now it will cause only the rotation, okay, and it will not cause any translation. And one force and a distance from the axis of rotation, if you want to calculate at that point what is the moment of force, it is a force into the distance. Whereas couple means, you know, couple is always the meaning is two. Okay, if you have a pair of equal and opposite forces acting on a body, okay, and the distance between the two forces is going to be D, then you can define the magnitude of the couple is equal to force into the distance between the two forces. Okay, now if you see here, you take an example, you'll understand better. Okay, so I'm going to define the rotating force, which is called as a couple. So other name for the couple is the rotating force. Okay, Now steering of the car, you take an example. Okay, now with the one hand you are applying the force in the upward direction. Okay, then with the, you can see in the other hand, okay, it comes down, okay, due to a force. Okay, so it will be in the downward direction. So this is the downward force and this is a upward force. So two equal and opposite force which is set up in the steering will constitute a couple. Okay, next you take the wheel of a cycle or a bicycle. Okay, if you take here, with the one leg you are pedaling, right, and you have the force set up in one direction, and due to that you have a reaction on the other pedal, which is again a force which is in the direction opposite to that of force applied. So these two equal and opposite forces will constitute a couple. So this steering is an example for the vertical force, and the bicycle wheeling, cycling is an example for the horizontal force. So two equal and opposite forces, okay, which are acting onto a body, right, causing a rotation effect onto the object is called as a couple. Having got idea about the moment of force and the couple, let us move on to the next definition, which is nothing but the torque. Okay, because of this torque, you get a rotation takes place in an object, so it can be called as even a rotating force, right? And it is also equal to the moment of the couple, right? Okay, now how will you define a torque? Torque is defined as the product of one of the forces forming the couple, right, and the perpendicular distance between the two forces, right? Now let us take this example. Okay, you consider a circular disc, right? At the rim of the circular disc, you at point A, let us take an example, you are applying the force in the upward direction, right? Okay, to an angle of theta, right? Now let R be the radius of the circular disc. Because of this force applied, A moved to a new position B, right? Okay. Now what is the distance traveled now? It is nothing but a R times theta, right? Okay. Now when you take the other side, When you take the other side, okay, so you will at the point exactly opposite to that of A, okay, at the opposite side, you have a downward force will be created, right, which will move the object in the downward direction. Similarly, exactly opposite to that of B, okay, you will have a downward force in the opposite direction, right? Okay. Now, because of this force, it causes a rotation in an object, right? So, if you want to find out this rotating force, which is tau or a torque, it is defined as this is equal to force into perpendicular distance. Now, what is now the distance, okay, between the two ends, right? If you take the B and B on one end to the B on the other end, if you take here, okay, this distance, this distance is going to be, now it is 2 times R, right? Now what we have studied here, in the couple, okay, the moment of the couple is a torque. Okay, what is a torque? It is the product of one of the forces of the couple, right? One of the forces of the couple. So I'll take one force of the couple, F, into the perpendicular distance. Perpendicular distance, since it causes a rotating motion, I have to take the as 2 times, okay, this R theta, right? So this is what I define as a torque. The moment of couple is called as a torque, right? Now you take an example, okay? Now you want to give a tension to a bolt, okay, and it should be clamped onto a joint. Let us take an example, right? With the help of hand and with the help of a spanner, you are giving some force, and because of this, okay, in this direction, you take in this direction, you are applying a force, and a torque will be created onto the this bolt, and then it will be screwed inside, right? Okay, it will be screwed inside. So here the force into the perpendicular distance, okay, will be equal to the torque. Torque is nothing but the moment of a couple, and which is nothing but the force into perpendicular distance. So this force into perpendicular distance will be equal to the torque, and it causes a rotating motion, right? So let us see the torque in the day-to-day life. First is the door handle, okay, where you get the force. When you apply the force, a torque is produced. In the opening of the tap, where two equal and opposite forces are being set up, and because of this, it get open and you get the flow of water, okay, and where the torque is produced. And next is this, the movement of the screwdriver into an object, where torque is produced, okay, and it is a rotating force, and it is able to, the screwdriver is able to drill through the object, okay. So these are the examples. Let us take the next definition, torsional stress and the deformation, which means what, right? Now, act of twisting or turning is known as torsion, right? You take this example. You are squeezing the water from a wet cloth is an example for a twisting motion, right? You are opening the bottle cap, which is an example for a turning effect. And this act of twisting and turning is called as torsion, right? Next, the stress or the deformation, okay, caused when one end of the object is twisted in one direction, whereas the other end is held motionless or twisted in the opposite direction, is known as torsional stress. You take this squeezing of water from a wet cloth. One hand here, this hand, which is held fixed, whereas with the other hand you are just taking the water, you're twisting the cloth and taking the water, okay, and you can see some changes in the happening in the cloth, right? So some kind of deformation is happening in the cloth, right? And this is called as a torsional deformation, okay, and the stress applied here is called as a torsional stress, right? Now you have to understand the next example. You are opening the cap of a bottle, right? One hand, this hand is being fixed, okay, with the other hand you try to open the cap, right? And this is called as a torsional stress. So the stress which causes the torsional motion is called as a torsional stress, and the deformation, okay, which is produced due to this torsional stress is called as a torsional deformation, right? Now let us first see what is meant by a twisting couple on a cylinder or a wire. Which twisting couple means twisting of a structural membrane. It can be a cylinder or a wire about its longitudinal axis, okay, about to a longitudinal axis by two equal and opposite torques. Okay, this will create a twisting couple, and it is expressed through a certain angle. And this kind of stress will not be tensile in nature or compressive in nature. It will be said to be shearing or a shear stress. And the strain produced in this case will be measured by an angle, and it is expressed in terms of radians. Now let us calculate the twisting couple of a solid cylinder, right? Before we find for a solid cylinder, let us find for one concentric thin cylinder, okay, and then we extend our idea for the entire cylinder, okay. So for that, let us assume that the solid cylinder is made up of number of concentric thin wall cylinder as shown in this diagram, right? Okay, so we take one such hollow cylinder whose radius is going to be x and the thickness is going to be dx, right? Okay, now let us define here. Let L be the length of the solid cylinder. Let OO dash be the axis of the cylinder. Okay. Now from O dash to A is the rim of the cylinder, B R, where R is the radius of the cylinder, right? So it is made up of number of coaxial cylinder, right? So we are going to consider one such coaxial cylinder whose radius is going to be x and the thickness is going to be dx, right? Okay. Now let the top end be fixed, okay, and the bottom end is being twisted. Okay. Now let the angle of twist, so here it is given, it is twisted through an angle of theta. So because of this, okay, the rim is sheared, the rim of the cylinder is sheared to an angle of phi. Okay. So it is twisted to an angle of theta, right? The lower end, B moves to a new position B dash. Okay. So because of this, the rim is sheared to an angle of phi. So from A, B, it is sheared to A, B dash, right? As we have seen, discussed earlier, the solid cylinder length is L, right? And the radius is going to be R, okay? And the upper end is going to be fixed, okay? You are going to apply a twisting couple to the lower end, right? Apply to a lower end. And of the rod in the plane perpendicular to the length. So in the perpendicular direction you are applying the twisting couple, and because of this the rod twisted through an angle of theta, right, and it is expressed in terms of radians, right. So when the rod is twisted, okay, the twister restoring couple acts in the opposite direction, right, and in the position of the equilibrium, at the equilibrium, then this twisting couple will be equal and opposite to the restoring couple of the material. So because of the twisting given at the lower end of the cylinder, it produces the restoring couple, twisted restoring couple, and at equilibrium, this twisted restoring couple will be equal to the restoring couple of the cylinder in the opposite direction. Now, once again we recollect, let OO dash be the axis of the cylinder. So, if you take here OO dash be the axis of the cylinder, and let L be the length of the cylinder, okay, and R be the radius of the cylinder, that is O dash to A to till the end of the rim, it is R, okay. Now, let theta be the angle of twist and phi be the angle of shear, okay. So the lower end is twisted, the upper end is fixed, okay. Now we are going to find out the angle of twist and the angle of shear, okay. Now let us proceed. Now a couple is applied, okay, at the lower end of the cylinder through an angle of theta. The angle B dash OB will be equal to theta. Now what is the length of the arc? BB dash is equal to x into theta. Okay. Now from this we understand the displacement decreases as we move from the rim of the cylinder to the center. Okay. At the center it will be 0. Okay. So when you move from the rim to the center, you can say that the displacement is decreasing. This means that shearing strain is maximum at the rim and minimum at the center. Okay, the shearing strain is maximum at the rim and minimum at the center. Okay, the shearing strain AB dash. The shearing strain AB dash is 5. Okay. Now what is the angle of twist? Angle of twist is theta, right? So by using this, we are able to find out the two cases. in terms of theta, in terms of phi. Okay. So B dash is equal to L phi. B dash is equal to x theta. Okay. So I'm going to call this as some expression number 1 and let this be some expression number 2. Okay. So when you equate these two expressions, so the LHS are the same. So we get back the expression like this. L phi, okay, will be equal to x theta. Okay. So from this you are able to find out the shearing angle, okay, or the shearing strain, which is the phi, right? So what did you understand from this? The phi, okay, increases with the increase in the x. X is a displacement. So it is having a direct proportion. Okay, now let us discuss. It is clear that x increases, phi also varies. Okay, so phi has the maximum value when the x is maximum. Okay, that is the strain is maximum on the outermost part of the cylinder and it is minimum on the innermost part of the cylinder. Rather, I can say that the shearing stress is not uniform throughout the material. This is what we understand from this description. Okay. If you want to calculate the shearing strain, it is the phi. Phi will be equal to x theta by L, right? So if you want, you can call this as some expression number 1, right? Now, how will you find out the shearing stress? Shearing stress will be equal to, from the rigidity modulus n, I can calculate n into the shearing strain will be equal to the shearing stress, right? So it is n x theta by n, right? Either you substitute a capital N or small n for the torsional pendulum as per your convenience, right? Now, what is A? A be the area of cross section of the wire, right? So how will you calculate now the shearing force? Shearing force acting on the wire will be equal to, because you, as you all know that the shearing stress will be equal to force we have studied even in the previous case, right? It is nothing but the force per unit area, right? It is nothing but a force per unit area. If I want to calculate the force, it is nothing but the shearing stress into the area, right? So it is shearing stress into the area. So when you substitute from the expression number 2, so I am going to call this as expression number 2. From the expression number 2, when you substitute, you will get the force to be equal to nx theta A by L, right? Let this be expression number 4, right? Sorry, expression number 3. In order to find out the couple per unit twist, we should know the face area of the hollow cylinder, which is nothing but, I come back here, right? The area will be equal to circumference into thickness. Circumference, in general, we write 2 pi r if it is going to be a circular object. In the case of this circular disc, the hollow cylinder, right, where I am going to find out the face area, it is going to be for a hollow cylinder whose radius is going to be x. So I'll write here 2 pi x, right? Now we'll substitute here, and the thickness is going to be dx. So it is 2 pi x dx, right? Now we calculate the shearing force on this area, right? What is the shearing force? Shearing force will be equal to, it is the shearing stress into area. Shearing stress into area, right? So we have got the expression for area from this equation. So I am going to call this as some equation number 4. Okay. So already from equation number 3, I can substitute for the shearing stress. So when I substitute, I will get the expression as 2 pi x dx nx theta by L. So I am going to call this as some expression number 5. Okay. Now when you simplify, you get the shearing force will to be equal to, shearing force will be equal to 2 pi n by L theta x square dx. where n is the rigidity modulus of the cylindrical object, right? So I am going to call this as some expression number 6. Let us now calculate the moment of force. Moment of force about the axis OO dash. So what is the moment of force about the axis OO dash, right? Moment of force is nothing but, we just recollect whatever we studied before. It is nothing but the force, okay, into the perpendicular distance, right? Into the perpendicular distance, right? Okay. Now, if you take a hollow cylinder, the perpendicular distance is going to be x, right? So, from the previous expression, it is enough if you multiply x, right? From the force equation, right? We just multiply x. So, let this be expression number 7, right? So, what is now the moment of force? It is 2 pi n theta by L x dx, which is nothing but the force into the distance, perpendicular distance, which is x. Okay. When you simplify, you get back the expression like this. Let this be expression number 8. Okay. So the moment of force now will be equal to 2 pi n theta by L x cube dx, right? This is for one hollow cylinder. Like this, if you want to extend the idea for the entire solid cylinder, okay, we have to integrate this above expression, right? We have to integrate this above expression 8, right? So the total twisting couple of the cylinder can be obtained, okay, by integrating this expression, right, between the limits 0 to r. Why it is 0 to r? Because at the center we say the radius is going to be 0. At the rim, what is the radius? The radius is going to be r. If I want to find out for the entire cylinder, the limit value is between 0 to r. Okay. So you, in order to find out the total twisting couple on the cylinder, we are integrating this equation 8 between the limits 0 to r. So it is 0 to r, which is the radius of the solid cylinder. Integral of 0 to r 2 pi n theta by L x cube dx, right? So in this expression, if you take 2 pi n theta by L, all these are constant. N is the rigidity modulus and the angle of twist is going to be a constant, and L, the length of the cylinder, is going to be constant. The only variable is this, the x, which is nothing but the radius of this hollow cylinder. So we take integral of 0 to r x cube dx, taking other all constants outside, right? So when you integrate, this is to the power of integral of 0 to, okay, x or r, right? X, okay, x to the power of n into dx. I need not tell you what is the formula, you yourself know, right? This is nothing but, it is x to the power of n plus 1 by n plus 1. It is x to the power of n plus 1 divided by n plus 1, right? And applying the limits, n plus 1, we are going to apply the limits. Limit is between, okay, 0 to x. In this case, it is 0 to x. 0 to x. Okay, the same manner you apply the condition here. So you will get as, this is x to the power of n, here is n is going to be 3. So n plus 1 by n plus 1. So x to the power of, it is n plus 1 is 4 divided by 4 between the limits 0 to r. Okay, when you simplify applying the limits, okay, and we get the expression as n theta pi r power 4 by 2n, right? This is nothing but the twisting couple on a cylinder. Okay, this is nothing but the twisting couple on the cylinder. I am going to call this as some expression number 9, right? Okay. If this theta is going to be 1 radian, right, then the couple per unit twist, right, will be equal to unit twist, that is the angle of twist is going to be unity, that is equal to 1 radian. Then you end up with this, C is equal to pi n r power 4 by 2l, right? Let this be expression number 10, right? So the couple per unit twist, this is what we used in most of the problems, and it is very important expression, right? So C is equal to n pi r power 4 by 2L, right? Where L is the length of the cylinder and n is the rigidity modulus of the cylinder, r is going to be the radius of the cylinder, right? So let us define now. The twisting couple per unit twist of the wire is called as the torsional rigidity or the modulus of torsion of a cylindrical wire. Modulus of torsion of a cylindrical wire, right? Okay. It is evident that from the above equation, that is the couple required, okay, is proportional to the fourth power of the radius. So from this expression, you will understand the C is proportional to the fourth power, r to the power of 4 of the radius. Next, we discuss about a torsion pendulum, its theory and its experiment. Okay. An example for a torsion pendulum, a bar of uniform area of cross section is hung from a string, flexible string. Okay, and when it is twisted and released, it exhibits a torsional oscillation, right? To and fro oscillations, which is nothing but a simple harmonic motion, right? So this is an example for a torsional pendulum, right? Simple harmonic motion. Now let us move on to this torsion pendulum theory. Now, what is meant by a torsion pendulum? Torsion pendulum, rather we can say as is an oscillator, for which the restoring force is torsion in sense, right? Okay. Now, what is a torsion pendulum? It is a device. It consists of a disc or other body, okay, which is having a large moment of inertia. So simply speaking, it consists of a flexible elastic rod, okay, where the one end is being fixed. The one end is fixed, okay, and then the other end is attached to a disc, okay, which is having a high moment of inertia, and together it is called as a torsion pendulum, right? Okay. If the disc is twisted and released, right, it will undergo a simple harmonic motion, but provided the torque in the rod is proportional to the angle of the twist, right? So when it is twisted and released, it executes a simple harmonic motion in a torsional sense. It exhibits a simple harmonic motion in a torsion sense, right? Okay. And what is the condition? The condition is the torque in the rod is proportional to the angle of the twist, right? Now let us go ahead with the theory, right? We know what is a torsional pendulum. When the disc in the torsion pendulum is rotated in a horizontal plane, right? So what will happen to the wire? The wire get twisted, and because of this, various elements of the wire, it undergoes a shearing strain, right? And a restoring couple will set up, and this restoring couple will tend to restore the unstrained condition. It is try to bring them back to the original condition. Okay, now when the disc is released, it will start executing the torsional vibration, right? Now when the angle of twist at the lower end of the wire is going to be theta, then the restoring couple will be equal to C times theta, where C is the torsional rigidity of the wire, right? Just now we discussed that when a disc is gently twisted and released, it executes the torsional oscillations in the horizontal plane. Okay. Now let I be the moment of inertia of the disc and C be the couple per unit twist. C be the couple per unit twist. We already know what is a couple per unit twist, and theta is going to be the angular displacement. Then d square theta by dt square is the angular acceleration of the disc. Okay. Now, in the case of torsional pendulum, we are going to first prove that it executes a simple harmonic motion. In order to find that, let us first find the total energy of the torsion pendulum. The total energy of torsional pendulum is the sum of potential energy and the kinetic energy. Okay. Now, how will you define the potential energy? Potential energy is always, we know that it is a work done. What is the work done here? It is work done is in twisting the disc, okay, thereby creating a restoring couple C, okay, and it is confined to the wire, okay. Now the restoring couple through an angle of theta is equal to, so I have to just take the product of moment of couple and the angular displacement. That is the formula for the restoring couple, right? But I have to take the integration between the limits 0 to theta, because the theta is a variable here, okay, and this is stored as a potential energy. Potential energy is equal to integral of 0 to theta c theta d theta, okay. Now what is constant here? C is a constant which I am going to take out. C integral of, okay, I will write it as 0, okay, to theta, 0 to theta, okay, and the variable is only theta and d theta, okay. I will take it as theta d theta, okay. Now I have to do a integration now, right? So when I do integration, this is equal to, okay, so this is actually x to the power of n. So when I apply that formula, I will get it as, okay, x to the power of n here is going to be 1. So n plus 1. So theta the square, whole square, divided by 2, okay, theta squared by 2, theta square by 2, okay, applying the limits, okay, 0 to theta, okay. So when you simplify this, you get back the expression like this. So let this be expression number 1, okay. So the potential energy expression is 1 by 2 c theta square, okay. The what is kinetic energy? Kinetic energy is confined to the rotating disc. What about the potential energy? It was confined to the wire. This is confined to the rotating disc. So we know as usual, okay, what is the kinetic energy? It is half mv squared. Whereas here instead of mass, okay, since it is a rotating disc, I have to take into account the moment of inertia, okay. And what is the angular velocity is omega squared here. So I will write here half I omega square is the kinetic energy of the rotating disc. So I am going to call this as some equation number 2. Okay, let this be equation number 2. Okay. Now after got this equation 1 and 2, potential energy and kinetic energy, I now have to substitute in the total energy formula. Okay. In the previous case, we have seen that omega is the angular velocity with which the disc oscillates, and I is the moment of inertia of the disc. Okay. Now, having got this expression number 1 and 2, substituting in the total energy equation, we will get the expression as total energy is equal to, okay, c theta squared by 2 plus half I omega squared. This is the total energy expression. I am going to call this as some expression number 3. Substituting this 1 and 2, we get the expression as 3. Okay. Now differentiating this equation with respect to t, we get, so when you differentiate here, okay, so what did you get in the from the equation number 3? Okay, so the only variable is this theta, right, and c is a constant. So when I differentiate, you get c, and by 2 is a constant which I am going to take out. So when you differentiate this, you get it as, okay, I will write here, okay, 2 theta, okay. So this is a variable, so I am going to write it as d theta by dt with respect to time, okay, d theta by dt, right. And what about the next expression? When you take here I, the moment of inertia is a constant, the only variable here is going to be, next term is going to be omega. So I will write here, so I will write 1 by 2, okay, and you will have, okay, so I And when I differentiate this omega, I will get it as 2 omega, and then the next term will be with respect to time. So d omega by dt, d omega by dt. So when you simplify, what did you get? So you can say that this 2 and 2 getting cancelled, 2 and 2 getting cancelled. Similarly here 2 and 2 getting cancelled. You end up with this equation. Okay, so I am going to call this as equation number 4. So what did you get? C theta d theta by dt plus I omega d omega by dt is equal to 0. Okay, but in this expression we know the angular frequency, angular velocity is nothing but angular displacement by time. So it is already I have told you this theta is going to be the angular displacement. So angular displacement by time, angular displacement, okay, by time is going to be the angular velocity, okay, displacement, okay, by time is nothing but the angular velocity. So in the place of omega, it is enough if I write d theta by dt, okay. So you call this as some expression number 5. Let this be expression number 5, okay. From the previous equation, equation number 5, we know that omega is equal to angular velocity is equal to angular displacement by time, d theta by dt, okay, d theta by dt. So I can even find out what is this d omega by dt. D omega by dt is nothing but the rate of change of angular velocity, which is nothing but the angular acceleration, okay. So if I want to find out d omega by dt, it is nothing but d square theta by dt square, okay. So having substituted all this value in this, in the previous expression, expression number 4, I will get, okay, c theta d theta by dt plus I d theta by dt into d square theta by dt square, okay. Let this be expression number 6, okay. Let this be expression number 6, okay. Now, what is common here in this both d theta by dt is common, which I am going to take out, right? So when you take this d theta by dt, so what is left in the first term? C theta plus I d square theta by dt square is equal to 0, okay. So let this be expression number 7, okay. Now we know that the angular uh, displacement, okay, uh, varies with respect to time, will not be 0, okay. That is the rate of change of angular displacement, the rate of change of angular displacement will not be equal to 0. So what is the other possibility? If you have two terms, product of two terms, okay, so this is the term 1, okay, and this is the term 2. When this product of two terms is equal to 0, one term may not be equal to 0. So which is d theta by dt is not equal to 0. So what is the next possibility? The second term is equal to 0. C theta plus I d squared theta by dt squared is equal to 0. Okay. Now therefore we find out the angular acceleration from this. So keep this d squared theta by dt squared one side and bring all other terms to the other side. So when you bring, what will you get here? So I will get it as d squared theta by dt squared is equal to minus c by I theta. So I am going to call this as some expression number 8. Okay. So what did you understand from this? The angular acceleration is directly proportional to angular displacement. So this term is the angular acceleration and it is directly proportional to the angular displacement, okay, and in the opposite direction, right? So the negative sign indicates that the couple tends to decrease the twist on the wire. Thereby it is executing a simple harmonic motion, okay, when the disc is being twisted to an angle of theta, right? So once again we recollect that the couple acting on the disc produces an angular acceleration, okay. So it is given by the equation. When we rewrite the above equation, we will get, okay, c theta will be equal to minus I d square theta by dt square, where I is the moment of inertia of the disc, okay, about the axis of the wire, about the axis of the wire, and the minus sign indicates that the couple C theta tends to decrease the twist. Okay, the couple will tend to decrease the twist, the restoring couple. Okay. So, we know from this equation 8, that is d square theta by dt square, that is the angular acceleration by dt squared, okay, will be equal to dt square will be equal to, this is equal to minus c, okay, by I into theta. So you have to remember this equation in order to find out the time period of the vibration. Okay, so I am going to call as this as 8. So we already named this as 8. Okay, just you recollect and have in your mind. Okay, now coming back here, the time period is equal to 2 pi square root of displacement by acceleration. So in this case, if you want to substitute, what is the displacement? Displacement is this theta, and what is the acceleration? From this equation you get the angular acceleration will be c by I into theta. Neglecting the sign, we take only the magnitude. Okay, so when you simplify this, you get this as, okay, this as t is equal to 2 pi into root of I by c. So I am going to call this as some equation number 9. Okay, so the time period is given to be 2 pi into root of I by c. Okay. Having got the time period of oscillation, we are going to next find out the rigidity modulus of the wire. Okay, so for this we are going to make use of this torque per unit twist. It is given by, we already derived in the twisting couple of a cylinder. C is equal to n pi r power 4 by 2L. Okay, we are going to make use of this. Okay, so what we have seen in the previous case, T is equal to, okay, 2 pi, okay, into root of I by c, right? This is what is the expression we have got, right, for the time period by c. So in the place of c, I am going to substitute this torque per unit twist. So when you substitute and rearrange the term, we get back the expression like this. Okay, so this is what is the expression we get for the time period now. Time period is equal to 2 pi by square root of, okay, 2Li by pi n r power 4, where n is the rigidity modulus of the wire. So we take this as some expression number 9. Okay. Now we are going to square these expression on both sides. Squaring on both sides. Okay, squaring, we get t square, LHS is t square, will be equal to 4 pi squared into 2Li by n pi r power 4, because the square root will be removed when you square, right? I hope you know, right? So what do you end up with now? T squared will be equal to 8 pi IL by r power 4 into n. So from this, okay, so I am going to call this as some expression number 10. From the expression number 10, we are able to calculate the rigidity modulus of the wire. So what is the rigidity modulus of the wire? N will be equal to 8 pi IL by r power 4 into t square. Oh, let this be expression number 11. Okay, so let this be expression number 11, where I is a moment of inertia and L is the length of the wire, and T is the time period, and R is the radius of the disc. Okay. Let us now discuss about the torsional pendulum experiment. Okay. Here we are going to consider the three cases. Okay. Case 1. Okay. This is a case 1. Okay. Case 2 and case 3. Right. Okay. Case 2 and a case 3 for a fixed length. For a fixed length of, which is L. Okay. L is the length of the disc. Okay. So the first case is without the equal mass. Okay. So let us now proceed. A metallic disc is taken and it is suspended using the wire of length L from the rigid support. So this is a rigid support. This is the rigid support. Okay. And the disc gently twisted and released. then immediately what happens? It executes a simple harmonic motion in the torsional sense. That is, the disc is twisted and then released. Then it executes a simple harmonic motion in the torsional sense. Okay. Now, without keeping any symmetrical masses, we just started calculating the period of oscillation. Okay. That is period of oscillation, which means it is a time taken for one oscillation. Okay. Next, we go with the second case. Case 2 is you take two symmetrical mass and kept at a distance of d1. So this is a two symmetrical masses. Okay. And you are measuring the distance from the center of suspension to the center of mass. So this distance d1 is noted, and you just twist the disc as before, and then it executes a simple harmonic motion. Okay, and find out what is the time taken for one oscillation, which is nothing but the d1. d1 is nothing but the time taken when two symmetrical masses are kept on either side at a distance of d1. So when you keep at a distance of d1, the time period what you noted is called as t1. Okay. Now next we move on to the third case. What is the third case? When equal masses are kept at a distance of d2. Okay. It is the closer distance and this is the farthest distance. Okay. So again we are measuring the distance d2. What is distance d2? It is from the center of suspension to the center of mass. This distance is d2. Now again you repeat as before. Give a small twist for the disc and release. So it executes a simple harmonic motion. So for this distance of d2, okay, the time period noted is t2, right? So in each case, we find out the time period. First case is without any symmetrical mass kept on a disc. When it is rotated and released, when it is twisted and released, what is the time period? Time period will be equal to 2 pi into root of I by c. Okay, when you square on both sides, okay, we get t squared is equal to 4 pi squared I by c. Okay, where I is the moment of inertia of the disc and c is a restoring couple. Okay. So in each case of the experiment, the moment of inertia of the disc varies. The first case it is I1. Okay. Now we move on to the second case. What is second case? Two equal masses are used and it is kept at a distance of d1 on either side, and then the time period t1 is noted. So what is the time period t1 now? t1 will be equal to 2 pi root of I1 by c. Okay. Now squaring on both sides, we will get t1 squared will be equal to, okay, 4 pi squared I1 by c. Okay. So if you want, you can name the equation also. So I am going to call this as equation number 10, right? And let this be equation number 11. So I am going to call this as equation number 11. Okay. Now, what is I1? I1 is the moment of inertia of the disc with the cylindrical masses at d1 distance. Okay. Now we move on to the third case where two equal masses are kept at a distance d2 on either side of the center of the disc. Okay. So what is T2 will be equal to? T2 will be equal to 2 pi into root of I2 by C. Squaring on both sides we get T2 squared will be equal to 4 pi squared IC by C. Okay. So what is I2? I2 will be equal to moment of inertia of the disc. Okay. With the cylindrical masses kept at a distance of D2. Okay. So I am going to call this as equation number 12. Okay, this be equation number 12. Okay. In order to find out the moment of inertia of the disc, we are going to relate that time period, whatever we have calculated so far. Now, I am going to divide the expression number 10, okay, divided by, okay, 12 minus 11. 12 minus 11, okay. So, when you substitute this to this equation, okay, we get like this. It is t squared by t2 squared minus t1 squared will be, similarly you get back this RHS accordingly, right? Okay. So in this, if you take the denominator, okay, whatever is common I'm going to take out, 4 pi squared by c is common, which I take out. Then we left with I2 minus I1. Okay. So, which is, I am going to cancel. Okay. I am going to cancel this in the numerator and denominator. So, what we left with now? We left with I by I2 minus I1. So, we get the LHS as T squared by T2 squared minus T1 squared will be equal to I by I2 minus I1. Now, we are able to calculate the moment of inertia. Moment of inertia I will be equal to, rearranging all the terms, we get it as I2 minus I1, okay, T squared by T2 squared minus T1 squared. So, I am going to call this as some expression number, the expression number 13. Okay, we have now got the moment of inertia of the disk, okay, experimentally by the 3 cases. We got this I as I2 minus I1 T squared by T2 squared minus T1 squared. Okay. Now, before we proceed further, we quickly recollect or we understand what is meant by parallel axis theorem. Okay. So, the moment of inertia of the body about an axis parallel to the body passing through its center is equal to the moment of inertia of the body about the axis passing through the center and the product of mass of the body times the square of distance between the two axes. Square of distance between the two axes. That is the moment of inertia of the body about an axis parallel to the body. Okay, the moment of inertia, if you want to calculate here, okay, so about an axis, OY is the axis, okay, passing parallel to the body, passing parallel to the body, passing through a center is equal to, this is equal to the sum of the moment of inertia of the body about the axis. Okay, this is the axis of the body. Okay, if you calculate the moment of inertia at this point, I am going to call this as IC, right? So, the IO, which is the moment of inertia about an axis which is parallel to the body, will be equal to the sum of two terms IC plus MD square. Okay. So, what is IC? The moment of inertia of the body about the axis, okay, plus the product of mass of the body times the square of the distance between the two axes. Okay. The square of the distance between the two axes is going to be D, right? If M is going to be the mass of the body, so mass of the body into D square. Okay. So, IO will be equal to IC plus MD square. Okay. Now, we are going to calculate the moment of inertia I1 and I2 for the two cases, and I am going to make a substitution in order to find out the moment of inertia of the disk. Okay. Now, for that, I am going to make use of this parallel axis theorem. Okay, to find I1, the parallel axis theorem. So, how to find out I1? I1 will, we have to consider the sum of three terms, I, 2Im and 2m d1 square. Okay. So, what is Im? Im is the moment of inertia of each symmetrical mass about an axis passing through the center. Okay. So, it is the moment of inertia of the each symmetrical mass, whatever is kept on the disk. Okay. What is small m? Small m is nothing but the mass of the small cylindrical object, whatever is kept on a disk. Okay. Now, what is m d1 square? It is the moment of inertia of the cylindrical masses about an axis passing through the center of the disk. So, since we are into the second case where we keep the two symmetrical masses at the closer distance of d1 and we find out the time period t1. So, when I want to find out the moment of inertia of this case, we have to sum it up the three terms. One is I, another is 2Im, okay. Next third term is 2m d1 square, okay. Now, similarly, when you want to find out I2, okay, I2 will be equal to I, okay, I plus 2Im by, okay, 2Im plus 2m d2 square. Okay, so these two expressions, so I am going to call this as expression number, okay, let me call this as expression number, okay, 1, okay, and let this be expression number 2. I am going to substitute this expression number 1 and 2 in expression number, okay, in the 12. So when I substitute this, I will get it as, okay, so it is this I2 minus I1, I2 minus I1. So in the place of I2, okay, this is what is the previous expression, you remember, I is equal to I2 minus I1, I is equal to I2 minus I1, okay, and then into t squared by okay, t2 squared minus t1 squared, t2 squared, okay, minus t1 square. So in this expression we are going to substitute this I2 and I1 from the parallel access theorem. So when you substitute, what do you get? First term I2 will be equal to, from your expression number 2, we will get it as I plus 2im plus 2m d2 square. Now what about the second term? Minus I minus 2im minus 2m d1 square, okay, t squared by t2 squared minus t1 square, okay. Now we can cancel all the plus and minus terms. So plus I and minus I getting cancelled, plus 2im and minus 2im getting cancelled. So what is common here? 2m is common, which I am going to take out. So 2m is taken out and we left with the remaining terms d2 squared minus d1 squared into t squared by t2 squared minus t1 squared. So experimentally we get the moment of inertia as this, okay. So this is a formula for the moment of inertia, okay. I will be equal to 2m into d2 squared minus d1 squared t squared by t2 squared minus t1 squared, where m is the mass of the cylindrical object, d1 is the closest distance, d2 is the further distance, okay, and t1 is the time period without the symmetrical mass, okay. T1 is a time period with a symmetrical mass at closer distance, and T2 is a symmetrical mass, okay, with a further distance. What is the time period? Okay. So having substituted this value, we get the expression. Let this be expression number 14. Okay, let this be expression number 14. In the previous slide, we have calculated the moment of inertia. I will be equal to, we got the expression as like this, 2m, okay, 2m into d2 square minus d1 square, d2 square, okay, d2 square minus d1 square, d2 square minus d1 square, okay, into t2 square divided by t2 square divided by, okay, I will write it as t2 square minus t1 square. I will write it as, it is t2 square, okay, t2 square minus t1 square, okay. A small correction here, just a minute, right? Okay, that's all. This is what is the expression we have got. Now in the place of rigidity modulus, I am going to make a substitution of this I, okay. When I substitute in this place, we get, okay, so we get the expression, and when we simplify, this is a formula, you get it for the rigidity modulus of the wire by experiment, okay. So experimental determination of the rigidity modulus of the wire can be done by using this formula, okay. So what is this? So the rigidity modulus N will be given to be equal to 16 pi IL into d2 squared minus d1 squared by t2 squared minus t1 squared into r power 4. So I am going to call this as some expression number 15, okay. Now, if at all you wanted to find out the torsional pendulum, okay, rigidity modulus value of the wire, okay, by using a torsional pendulum, we should know the length of the wire which is fixed and the mass of the symmetrical object which is used, and we should know the d1 and d2 distance, okay, and the time period t1 and t2, okay, and the r is going to be the radius of the wire which is measured using the screw gauge. Having got all the values, we are able to determine the rigidity modulus of the wire experimentally. Now we'll see the real-time application, okay, of the torsional stress and then the deformation, okay. Now for this we should understand the first important component, which is called as shaft, okay. The shaft is a component of a machine. What for it is used? It is used to transmit the power from the source to the load, okay. So this shaft can be a rotating membrane. It should be a rotating membrane, of course, in order to transmit the torque from the source to the load, okay. And this will not undergo any twist, right? Okay. Now you can take this example. Suppose the load is here, okay. Load is here and the source is here, okay. So in between, the rotating component can be called as a shaft, okay. So this is a rotating membrane. So rotating membrane, and this can be called as a shaft. It is used to transmit the torque from the source to the load. So can you give some examples for this? Yes, you can see the two examples in a day-to-day life. One in a flour mill, if you have gone, you would have witnessed this shaft, okay. So power transmission shaft is used to transmit the torque or a power developed in a mover, that is motor, to the load machine through a belt, okay. So in a flour mill, you can see a shaft is used to transmit the torque from the motor to the load, okay. So next example is in the lorries, okay. Propeller shaft axle is used to transmit the power, okay, to the wheel. It is used to transmit the power to the wheel. Before we end, let us recollect the important concept, whatever we have discussed in this topic. First important topic is this moment of force. It is defined as a product of force and the perpendicular distance from the point to the line of action of the force. Next concept is this torque. Torque is the product of one of the forces forming the couple and the perpendicular distance between the two opposite forces. Then we have derived the couple per unit twist, time period of oscillation, rigidity modulus, moment of inertia of the disc, etc. In this, I have given other useful links for your kind reference. I have released 6 videos in the YouTube in the properties of matter, that is elasticity, cantilever, Young's modulus uniform bending, bending of beams, Young's modulus non-uniform bending and I-shaped girders, and the torsion pendulum theory and experiment, twisting couple of a cylinder. And their links are being provided in this slide for your future reference. I have my own channel, Understanding Physics. So kindly share, like and subscribe the channel. Thank you. Thank you one and all for your patient listening.